if you've invested so much in creating your online persona, because it is very edited and you're spending so much time on it, you're not able to spend time on other things. And so the two start to merge. But it doesn't matter how complicated the internet is and how great your identity is on the internet. As a biological person, you're still different to your online presence. And the way of maintaining that and getting that balance is by coming offline.
This is By Joyan Season 2. I'm your host, Joyan Chan, and every Wednesday we bring you inspiring stories, powerful message, and fun conversations with me and my special guests and friends, and it's my personal mission to empower you to live and lead a life with joy. This podcast is for you if you're looking for more joy, courage, passion, and purpose in your life. Now let's dive into today's episode and get ready to laugh, learn, and live your life to the fullest. Joining us today is a tech speaker, leadership well-being, digital detox, and mindset coach. He was fascinated by the collision between technology and psychology and how this relationship is changing our world, our health, and even the way we think. With over 30 years experience in leading technology companies, which together with the mindset of an athlete, he brings to his technology well-being practice. And he's here today to empower you to achieve a healthier, more productive, and ethically sustainable relationship with technology. So, ladies and gentlemen, help me in welcoming the digital detox coach, the one and only Colin Corby. Welcome to the show, Colin.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me to your excellent show.
Yeah, I'm really happy to have you here today. So, you're the expert and you're the digital detox coach. But, before we get into what is a digital detox, I'm just curious. You have had over 30 years in leading technology companies. So what was the turning point that made you shift into digital detox and well-being coaching today?
Well, I had an opportunity I've worked for many technology companies and been involved in some world first technologies. So I love technology. I suffered stress when I was in my mid 30s when at work, because I loved my job, my people, the work that I was doing. My heart rate used to go higher and higher and higher until I saw stars and started to pass out. So after the tests, nothing was found. I decided to get fit. So that's when I took up sport to train my heart and to solve the stress problem, for me anyway. And then I got into endurance sports. So I love technology. The sport enabled me to do the high pressure stress jobs in technology. So I had a balance, which was wonderful. And then I had an opportunity to leave the corporate world and do something I enjoyed. I enjoyed technology. I enjoyed the mindset of an athlete, an endurance sport. And I noticed I was on my phone quite a long time, and it started to impact on what I wanted to do. And I thought, well, this is interesting. I wonder what's happening here. So I did lots of research on behavioral psychology. And in 2018, I created the Digital Detox Coach, which is really to help people, mostly professional people, find the energy, the time, and the balance between technology and what we need as biological human beings. And it's really creating that balance. So we all need technology to live and work in the modern world, but it has to be in balance.
Yeah, and you have been invited to speak on this topic on the tech stage. So I did my research, and in the text you asked, are we losing our human identity to technology? So why do you say that anyway? Like why do you say we are losing our identity to technology, and how close do you think we are to that reality today?
So we posed the question. I did a TEDx talk with my colleague, Anna Smith. We posed that question and we looked at, well, okay, let's just look at what's happening. And if we spend more and more of our time online, if more and more of our experiences are online, But we also know the technology companies, their business models are interested in not only producing good apps, but also advertising revenue and keeping us on there for longer. So they're shaping what we see online. And what I see online and what you see online will be totally different because it's being shaped differently. And so our experiences are being shaped online. We're spending more and more time online. We only remember what we experience, and our memories shape who we are. And a lot of people curate who they are online as well. So they have an online identity. So at what stage does our online identity become us? And that was the question we were asking. Well, as far as everyone else is concerned, who we are online is who we are. But we're not those people online. We're totally different. We're someone else. Today, I'll be a special person to my family, the people I work with in the real world. In 10 years' time, I'll be a slightly different person because I will have had 10 years' experiences. But online, it's a flat world where everything is recorded and calculated. So my online identity isn't really who I am, but everybody looking at it will think that's who I am. The governments and companies that recruit people will think that's who I am. So everything that we do in the modern world is based online. So in a sense, our identity is being lost. And now we have AI. I can create a clone of myself. Half the internet, at some point in the next few years, half the internet will be generated by non-humans. It's very easy to say, well, okay, I can't be dealing with all that internet stuff now. I'll use a clone of myself to deal with the internet, an AI clone of myself to do that. And that's what a lot of companies are working on. But also, some of the best influencers are actually avatars, AI avatars. They've got tens of thousands of followers, and they're actually AI avatars. So this idea of identity is, well, what is our identity? And I'm siding with Professor Anhil Seth, who said, well, evolution, hundreds of thousands of years of evolution, have given all of us and other animals this concept of self. So we see the world from our own perspective. So everything we see, everything we do is always from our own perspective. Our consciousness is to do with our own self. So really, it's flagging if we don't have a sustainable balance with technology and the real world, then everything about our identity will be whatever is online. And then we'll start copying and following who we think we are online. So really, it's a really complicated area, but we're seeing a lot of it now.
That is really, I mean, I'm fascinating, because I have not thought of that in this way. Like we have curated an online identity, but to me, now when I think about that, right, what I have curated, of course, we all have as coaches, as we need a personal brand, right? These days, as you said, even a LinkedIn profile is the first thing that companies who want to hire you, want to work with you, that's the first thing they look at.
Mm.
And so to me, I would say that, of course, not everyone, I do know some people, they don't even have a social media, and I mean, that's just amazing. So I think for me personally, I would create my social media persona. Like, this is my online persona, but this is also the person that I aspire to be, or I want to be, and ultimately I would become that person because of my online persona. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's something that just came to my
Mm.
mind.
So I think you're right, because if you've invested so much in creating your online persona, because it is very edited and you're spending so much time on it, you're not able to spend time on other things. And so the two start to merge. But what I'm saying in my TEDx talk is that it doesn't matter how complicated the internet is and how great your identity is on the internet. As a biological person, you're still different. to your online presence. And the way of maintaining that and getting that balance is by coming offline and going into, if you like, an offline sanctuary, which gives you enough time to think about what you really want to do. But when we're online, we're bombarded with lots of stimulation. We haven't got time to think. There's so much information. There's so many things. We're always chasing.
Yeah.
We're always following. It's only when you're in the still moments where you've got time to really sort of sit down and think, am I enjoying that? Or what do I really want? Or where am I going? And all of those big questions, because those are much slower brain processes and you need time to think. You may need time to socialize with other people that you trust. So there's that whole social aspect to it as well. So I'm not sure. I think when AI avatars are so good, then it's inevitable that we'll have AI avatars scanning our emails, scanning other things for us, summarizing things for us. And we'll lose that communication, human to human communication. So we've already got bots talking to us rather than humans. We then have bots talking to bots because the humans haven't got time anymore. So it's an interesting area. I mean, it's plagued with lots of privacy concerns. So if you had an avatar of yourself, that avatar would have to be locally generated because otherwise all of your information, personal data will be everywhere. So there are lots of things to overcome, but it seems to be heading in that direction.
Yeah, and funny enough, because I do wanna actually I wanted to create an AI version of myself so that it can, talk to my customers, talk to my audience and just replace me and I can do other things, right? And so it's funny that you mentioned it. I think it depends on how you use it, right? If it allows you to have more time to live your life offline, spend more time with your family, with your loved ones, then that's a good thing, right? If you use AI instead of it using you, that's what I'm saying.
And if it's done honestly and transparently, so for example, if I'm talking to your AI version of you, then in advance, I know it's the AI version of you.
Mm,
And then it gives me the choice of whether I want to talk to the AI version of you or whether it's something that I want to talk to you about.
yeah.
So there has to be some honesty and transparency. But like everything, we can't stop technology advancing. Whatever we can imagine somebody's going to do. And there'll be lots of wonderful benefits and some really dark sides. And that's if you trace technology throughout history, that's always been the case. But we can't individually stop it.
Yeah, we can't. Well, since we can't stop it, we have to learn, like you said, to live with it and strike a balance. So before that, how do you see our digital habits? Like the moment we wake up, most people just the first thing they see is that their phone, right? They just turn on their phone, all the notifications just start coming in. So it has become so integrated into our daily lives, like 24/7. Even me and you now, we are communicating over
Yeah.
technology. Can't do it otherwise. So how do you see our digital habits or technology affecting not just our productivity but also our mental health and well-being?
So I think people should step back and say, well, who am I? And we're biological animals. And what that means is that the brain and the body are fully integrated. So the heart pumps blood with oxygen, it goes to the brain, it allows us to perform. It's all integrated. The brain is reliant on all of our senses to make sense of the world. So we're one animal. Now, as animals, in order to perform, we need sleep. If we don't get enough sleep, and we've all lost sleep over the years, we feel terrible. We have to have the right diet. We have to exercise rather than just sit on. So there's lots of unintended consequences of being online. So part of the balance is to say, well, okay, if we are going to perform at our best in terms of when we're working, when we're creating, when we're with other people, then we have to look after what we need as biological animals. So we have to get enough sleep. So we have to set boundaries. We have to move about more. In the UK, inactivity accounts for the same number of deaths as smoking. So the fact that we're just not moving, and that's not a totally new thing to do with smartphones, it's been happening for the last 20 or so years. So we're communicating online with other people, but we have a loneliness epidemic. The US Surgeon General produced a report the other year on the loneliness epidemic, and it says, although the internet is a wonderful way of communicating with other people, and during the COVID crisis, it was absolutely essential, it's not instead of communicating with real people, because we're social animals. And if we don't bond with other people in the real world, then that creates stress and insecurity, and that has an impact on our health. And loneliness also impacts our long-term health. So there are lots of these unintended consequences that we now need to manage. And the only way we can manage them is by coming offline and looking after ourselves. Now, lots of people think self-care is a weakness. You can't work 24 hours a day, you can't instantly respond to every message, particularly people in business. So I've reframed it to being business athletes. Now, we know top athletes, or in fact any athletes, including myself, we need enough sleep, we need the right diet, we need to exercise, we need to interact with other people, being nature, all of those great things. So if you want to perform at your best at work, then you have to treat yourself as an athlete and say, well, okay, I've got a big presentation, a big meeting coming up. I'm going to make sure I need enough sleep. Or if I want to be very creative, then I'm going to have to take regular breaks during the day in order to be able to refocus my attention. So it's really that concept of, it's not a weakness. Athletes are not weak. They're some of the strongest people with the mindset of being the strongest people. So by reframing it as business athletes, then a lot of this self-care makes an awful lot of sense. Who wants to go to work and perform badly? Who wants to go and meet their family and not be there, not be fully present? Of course we want to do our best. Of course we want to be present. So it's a question of how do you communicate that in the technical world? And that's what I'm trying to do with coaching on digital detox and creating this business athlete idea.
That's where your work comes in, right? So talk to us about what is a digital detox, and does it require giving up our phones, social media, or even computers?
No, not at all, because so I define digital detox as a period of time when you're offline. And the offline is important. So I use an analogy with a sweet shop. See, I love chocolate. And if I'm in a sweet shop and it's selling chocolate, chances are I'm going to buy the chocolate. So if I don't want to eat chocolate, I really I shouldn't be in the sweet shop. So coming offline is the same thing. So it can be short as 20 seconds if you're resting your eyes from staring at a screen, or as long as a week in nature and everything in between. But for professional people, the most important digital detoxes are those regular 10 to 15 minute breaks during the day, where you can go offline, grab a coffee, talk to a colleague, do some reading, do something else to restore your focus and attention and to be able to perform at your best. Now, another digital detox is setting time boundaries. So you don't look at your phone an hour before going to bed, because your sleep is really, really important. And when you get up, you're only allowed to switch your phone off. If you look at your phone the first thing in the morning, when you're feeling your best from a good night's rest, whatever you thought you might do in the day has just changed by what you're seeing online. So it's about controlling the things you can control. And you can control your attention and where your attention goes. So that's digital detox. Doesn't mean giving up. It just means getting that balance right.
Right, because I thought, from my own understanding, it was digital detox. It was like taking longer breaks, like months break from social media. I know some people do that,
Yeah.
and so would you recommend taking longer breaks? Would it have more benefits?
So if we all take a week off in nature and we're doing activities, it's very easy to have a digital detox because we're with friends or family. We don't really want to use our phones. But when you come back in the workplace, all of the triggers for you accessing your phones are still there. So really, it's about controlling your environment, being in control of your environment. Now, some people might find that social media makes them sad, or there's things on there that are unpleasant for them. And for those people, you might say, well, you don't need that social media. You can take a break. You don't need that sort of input. But for most people, it's about saying, well, okay, I need to use technology for work. It's great for communicating. I enjoy scrolling social media. So let's control it. Let's decide how long I'm going to do those activities and all the other things that I might want to do. So it might be that you want to play a musical instrument or a sport or party with friends, whatever it is, that may be your priority. So it's a question of saying, well, what are my priorities? Oh, okay, there's my priorities. Oh, being online so long isn't a priority, so I just need to control what I'm doing there so I can do the things I really want to do.
What are some of the common signs that someone might need a digital detox?
I do a lovely article on we all know someone. It's much easier thinking of someone else than ourselves, okay? So we all know someone who gets anxious when they haven't got their phone with them. So
Yeah.
we all know someone who picks up their phone first thing in the morning and is the last thing they put down at night. We know someone that goes on their smartphones to do one thing, doom scrolls, and completely forgets what it was they originally want to do. We know people that when we're with them, and they might be our best friends, they get a notification and they instantly blank us and look at their phones. But they're supposed to be our best friends. What is so important on the phone? So it's that those sorts of habits are sort of early warning signs, and it's better to phrase it as we all know somebody, and you look at what other people are doing, and then you say, yeah, but am I doing that as well?
Yeah. Yeah, I do know someone who freaks out when, the phone is about to die, they don't have a
Mm.
charger. It's just hilarious to watch, And so, but these people, they just can't switch it off, they just can't switch off from their devices. They're always on their phone, like always in their hands. So what would be the first step, realistically speaking, for them to switch off their devices? Because it just seems so hard.
So the environment that we're in triggers a lot of our actions. I think about 43% of our actions are on autopilot. But a lot of those are conditioned by the environment. So there's research that says that if you just have a smartphone with you, whether it's in your pocket or your bag or by your bed, it exerts a cognitive pull on your resources, on your unconscious resources, and you won't be aware of it. So the first thing is to start to create a distance between who you are and your smartphone. So I jokingly say, give your smartphone a name. As soon as you give it a name, it's not you. It's not an extension of you. And then you say, well, okay, it's a great tool, but I don't need to use it all the time. I think for some parts of the day when I need to do something else, I'll just put it away. put it in a place and get on with things. And the benefit of doing that is that if it's not near you, it's not going to trigger your actions.
Yeah.
So you change your environment so that it doesn't trigger your actions. So you use the environment in your favor. The other thing is you pre-plan. If you pre-plan when you're going to, enjoy using your smartphone or use it for certain things, plan that as a time period. And then when you're doing something else, you can think, oh, I might have the urge to use my smartphone, but I know that I'm going to use it in an hour's time anyway. So it's less of a pull. Smartphone use for the vast majority of people is not an addiction, it's just a bad habit. So what we have to do is create better habits. Now here's the thing, and here's the tie-up between athletes and smartphones. Habits take, on average, about 66 days. Maybe longer if they're more complex, maybe shorter if they're simpler. And that's when they go from consciously thinking about them to automatically doing them. So you have to persevere. Nothing is going to work quickly. So like an athlete, you can't run a marathon before you've started training. It's going to take time. So when I do the coaching, I say, look, we're going to run a marathon here. Today, you can't run 5 kilometers. But in 3 weeks' time, you might be able to run 5 kilometers, but it's still not a marathon. So it's that expectation that things will take time is really important.
Right. So from your coaching work, you have coached so many people. What is the biggest excuse or resistance that people usually have to not taking a digital detox? And how do you help them overcome it?
I've heard so many. One of them is, I need to be contacted just in case. I always need to be contacted, so I have to have my phone with me. Okay, you can have your phone with you, but it's harder to then control the habits if you have your phone with you. But if you're at home, that doesn't mean to say you have it in your pocket or bag. It means you know where it is and you can hear it if there's a ring or something. So whatever the suggestion is, there's always a counter. The other way of approaching it is, what does the person really want to do? Where is it they really want to go? And do visualization exercises, which you do in sport all the time. Where's the finish line? And if you can get vivid visualizations in coaching, because imagination is the same as memory, then you achieve some of that visualization without having done it. And then if you don't achieve it, it's like something being taken away. And we know that loss aversion is so much stronger than the anticipation of positives. So it's about combating those limiting beliefs, really. But if someone comes and says, oh no, I want to do this, that they're not ready to be coached. They have to actually say, I pick up my phone when I'm with my children and it's upsetting. It upsets the children.
Yeah.
Or I'm with my friends and I've upset my best friend because I've just blanked them by looking at my phone. Quite often there has to be some emotional tipping point where people say, I have to change. If you're a professional, it could be, I'm just not performing at work. What is it I can do? I always used to be able to do it, but now for some reason I can't do it. Or I'm tired all the time. So for everyone's different.
Okay, so what exactly do you help people with in your coaching? What kind of problems do they have when they come to you for coaching?
So the great thing about coaching is everyone is different. So someone might come and say, I'm on my phone too much.
Okay.
And the first question is, well, what do you want to be doing? And then you say, well, okay, what's stopping you doing those things? Do you really want to do those things? Or is there something deeper? So if you can establish, if the person can realize what they really wanted to do, and they can be self-aware of what they're currently doing, then they can take on action to get there. There's a whole group of people that like coaching, a bit like sports coaching. Give me all these exercises, I'll do the exercises, and if I do this program at the end of it, I'll be a better person. And that seems to be quite common in the US for some reason. And then, so I've got loads of challenges, digital detox challenges. So I'll give you an example. I've got a just one thing challenge. It helps with self-awareness. I come from the UK. I love to look at the weather. So the chat, because it rains. And you need to know if it's rains because you need to know what to wear. It's really important. So I can pick up my phone, and the challenge is I can only look at the weather. I can't look at anything else. So I can only look at the weather, and then I have to come off for 5 minutes, and then I can do another one thing challenge. Now, it's helpful if you've given your phone a name, because chances are when you start the challenge, you'll look at the weather and you'll immediately respond to one of those red circles with the number of messages or something, or you'll be sidetracked. The thing is, don't worry. Just say, look, phone, you got the better of me that time, but I'm going to do it next time. So you mustn't beat yourself up. But it's all part of self-awareness. If you can be aware of the control that your phone is exerting on you, then that's the first step in taking back control. But there's lots of other challenges as well.
Yeah, I like that. Like you said, yeah, so often the reason why we are on our phones so much is because we procrastinate. For example, if I procrastinate, I just scroll on social media because I don't want to do the task for whatever reason. Right? It could be too difficult, too hard, or I don't know, for some other reason. So yeah, I think that's really where mindset work comes in, because really to figure out why are you procrastinating, why are you not doing the things that you want to do, right? Instead of on your phone so much. But I just I just think that what we talked about earlier, like human connections. Some people might argue that, especially when you say about loneliness, because some people are not just, they don't have the luxury of going out, meeting people, maybe because of the city they are in. Maybe it's a small town, a small village, and they don't have many people to connect with, and the only way to connect with others, human being, is through online interaction. So they might argue to say that, this is how I connect. This is my, if I don't have social media, if I don't have technology, I'm even more lonelier than I am in real life.
Yes, you're absolutely right. And we all experienced that during COVID. If it's so, then we've got to say, well, okay, if I have a video call with someone, then it's not the same. It's not as good as a real life connection, because you don't get all the body language, you don't get the sense of the feelings, you don't get all the information, but it's quite good. If you make a phone call to someone and you don't try and multitask, you focus on the voice, that's a good level of communication. And we've been phoning people for maybe 100 years.
Yeah.
It was telegraph before that, but it was like telegraph was messaging before that. Then it was telephone.
We're old enough to remember that.
So those are good ways of communicating. But if it's a message in what we call pidgin English, which is very short sentences, or even if it's an email, then those for social communications are poorer forms of communication. Because I do a message, it's got less words than I might use if I'm talking to you. I whiz it off. You might react to it immediately. You might react to it in an hour's time. You send another message back. It's not really great in terms of trying to replicate the personal contact. But you're absolutely right. If your circumstances are that you are stuck with no one to talk to, then the videos and the voice calls are really important.
Yeah, for sure. So if someone listening right now feels constantly overwhelmed by screens, emails, notifications, or personally, I turn off all my notifications just so that I don't get overwhelmed. Just so many. So yeah, for someone who is listening right now, what is one simple step they could take immediately after this conversation?
They can decide when they don't need their phone and just put it away. So for example, if you buy an alarm clock instead of your phone, and my phone is downstairs, so it creates a physical barrier to it. It charges downstairs. So I have an alarm clock. The light comes on, birds sing. So if you solve the alarm clock problem, then you can decide that it's your time for the first hour before you pick up your phone, and then you'll start the day with what it is you want to do. So you won't have any of the. Most news is bad news. Bad news sells. All news is not all news, but a lot of news is all about fear, uncertainty, and doubt, generally. And so, as soon as you look at news or social media or something like that, your day is influenced. But if you have that hour in the morning to actually work out what it is you want to do, then you can take control. And your best friend is a notebook and a pen. It's your best friend. Before you go online, because you think, well, actually, I need to Google something. I need to find out something. Write out what it is you want to do on a piece of paper. That way, when you get sidetracked, you can look down at the piece of paper and that reminds you. You don't have to rely on willpower or your short-term memory. So start your day as you with a notepad.
Thanks for the tips. Yeah, buy an alarm clock because I do use my phone as to set an alarm, but yeah, I mean that's a good one. Um, all right. Is there anything that you want to talk about? Perhaps I didn't ask you, or didn't let you.
So the only extra thing I want to say is that we outsource our memory and skills to technology. And this comes up in the TEDx talk. And what I mean by that is if you drive a car, you use a sat nav. And then with the sat nav, turn left, turn right, you get to your destination. But you don't necessarily remember how you got there, compared with if you'd use a map. So we tend to use technology instead of remembering things ourselves. So we know where we're going to find it, but we don't know it ourselves. Now, what that means is that we don't have that knowledge and skills within us to be able to use creatively. So when we try and problem solve or be creative, we've got less to work on. Now we've got AI. AI can do some of the thinking for us. So it's more than just us saying, well, if I need to know that one thing, I'll go to Google. Now we're saying, oh, can you compose that email for me?
Yeah.
Can you write this article for me? Of course, I'll edit it afterwards, But so with outsourcing that skill to AI, and you can already do that today. So what we really need to think about is what are the skills that we really need? It's about the future of work. AI, sooner or later, will do all the transactional type work. So what is it that us humans are going to be good at? And what we're good at is being able to live on the edge of chaos. This world we live in is constantly changing. And somehow we're able to live and survive and work on things that haven't even happened yet, to imagine things that haven't happened. Now, currently, the technology calculates what has happened already at a very fast pace and is able to give us lots of new information, predominantly based on old information. But it's wonderful. Scanning in the medical field, it's absolutely amazing. The processing power, the imaging, it's brilliant. But it doesn't exist in our world, so it won't know about what's happening at this precise moment. So if we want to have a future in work, we have to concentrate on, well, what is it to be human? What are we really, really good at? And then not to outsource all of those things to AI and technology. Now that's hard because technology makes everything easier. Everything we have to do ourselves is much harder. But people practice musical instruments, but people do, they train to be fitter. They run marathons. So in all of us, we have the capability to work hard at something we like. So it's that mindset to take with you into how we use technology.
Yeah, it's so true. Ever since ChatGPT and AI came to our world, not just me, people around me, all my friends, family, like we even talk to ChatGPT. All my friends, we do the same thing. We don't talk to human beings anymore. We talk to AI. We don't talk to our friends anymore about our problems. The first thing that came to mind is I just asked ChatGPT.
Yeah.
And it's just crazy. To be honest, I know I'm becoming dumber and dumber because I started using AI. I just don't think anymore. And it's stupid. Yeah, I just hate it so much. And of course, I'm now being aware of not to use it so much, of everything I do. So yeah, I mean, thank you so much for that. It's really helpful and it's really an important message for everyone to hear, at this current day and age. So thank you so much again for coming. I really appreciate all your insights. Now, tell my people where they can find you, and if they want to learn more about what you do, where should they go?
So here comes the funny part. We all have to be online to live in today's world. So I'm going to say the website. So it's the digitaldetoxcoach.com. There's a YouTube channel as well, the Digital Detox Coach. And I've got a Substack article, free article. But I can send you those details. And so that's the best way. Lots of free resources. So if you want to know more, then feel free to contact me. That as humans, there are things to share. and this is one of them.
Yeah. Thank you so much again for everything you do. And so yes, I will put all your links in the show note below. And guys, go watch his text talk. I also put a link in the show note below. And remember to like and subscribe to this podcast if you haven't already. And I would love to hear what is your biggest takeaway from today's episode. And I will always leave you the same way as I leave you every other episode. Show up. The world needs you and you need you. Thanks for listening, and I wish you all a joyful and amazing day ahead. Thank you again for tuning into Find Joy Joyan podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, take a screenshot and share it on your IG story and tag findjoyjoyan_podcast so I know you are listening. And leave us a positive review on Apple Podcasts if you haven't already done so. And remember to hit the subscribe button whether you are listening on Spotify, iTunes, Amazon Music, or any of your other favorite platforms. If you love what we are doing and want to become one of our sponsors, you can send me a DM to connect. And thanks for being here. I will see you soon in the next episode.